Hi, my name is David, and today I'm going to show you how the flat earth theory can help you deal with the quarantine by giving you a sense of less anxiety. Now, last week, a friend of mine sent me a message on Facebook. He told me he saw this movie called Behind the Curve, which is about the flat earth movement, the growing flat earth movement, and he saw me in the movie, and I didn't have a big part. I was just in the front row of an audience of someone giving a talk. But he recognized me, and then we started having a discussion, and he's asking me about flat Earth, and he asked me a whole bunch of questions. And when I was answering the questions, I realized that every question he had about flat Earth could apply to the quarantine and the coronavirus. And so the first question he asked me was about pictures of Earth from space. And so in 1972, there was this blue marble shot, which, if someone were to make a painting of it, you wouldn't be able to tell whether it was a photo or a painting. And all the pictures that was the only picture for a while, and then all the pictures afterward, after the 1980s, are just computer-generated images, CGI. And when you see how the CGI works, and you look at how continents are different sizes of different pictures NASA supposedly took, you realize by understanding CGI that the whole thing was a fraud. And the way this coronavirus is portrayed, that you see pictures of like this yellow ball with red spots on it, and it looks really scary, when really someone just made a cartoon and used Photoshop. It was nothing, people are acting like they have this knowledge, they've isolated the virus, and they have this knowledge and they're close to making a vaccine, and they're going to save us, and they're heroes, and they're really smart idiots. Anyway, so, when you understand CGI, it gives you less anxiety when you see this image of a coronavirus. The next thing he brought up, he says to me, there was a man in ancient Greece 2,000 years ago who proved the Earth was a sphere of 25,000 mile circumference. So there was this man named Eratosthenes who did this experiment where, the story goes this, where he went to Syene, which is this town on the Tropic of Cancer, and on the Tropic of Cancer, on the summer solstice, June 21st, the sun is directly overhead, so it doesn't make a shadow if you put a stick in the ground. And where he was in Alexandria, where it's 500 miles north of Syene, and it turned out there was a difference of a 7-degree angle in the sun, which corresponded to a 7-degree angle having to do with the distance of Syene to Alexandria, which meant that 500 miles is 1/50th of a circumference, and therefore 25,000 miles, 500 times 50, 25,000 mile circumference. And it's one of these things where when you look at it closely, you'll realize that it was just about this idea, planting an idea in children's minds that the Earth is a finite sphere of 25,000 miles. And, for example, the whole thing can work on a flat Earth model. The results can't always assume that sun rays are parallel. How is he going to be in two places at once? Or the experiment's never been replicated after 2,000 years. I mean, the question isn't whether he didn't answer a question, is it the Earth a sphere? He answered the question, if it was a sphere, how big would it be? But anyway, so it's one of the things where you look at it and you realize it's nonsense. It's just a story to make kids think a certain way. And imagine what they're doing to kids today, where they're giving kids ideas about being afraid of other kids or being afraid of germs. It's like, it's just control tactic, and when you realize how easy it is to put ideas in kids' minds, you feel less anxious about it because you could see it. Then my friend brings up solar eclipses. You know, I went to Wyoming in 2017 to see the solar eclipse. I drove from Colorado, where I live, to Wyoming. And there was basically I had to drive to Wyoming because there's only a 70-mile wide shadow. And so how could a moon, which is 2,000 miles wide supposedly, that's what the scientists tell us, how could it cast a shadow smaller than that? And that small, 70 miles. And so the way people defending the globe might answer it would be to do some complicated mental gymnastics. It's similar to the mental gymnastics that people do when people ask questions like, they get on Facebook and they say, hey, does anybody know anybody who's not sick or elderly, who got the coronavirus and died? And nobody answers. Then it'd be like, does anybody know anybody? And this has been done with people with 5,000 friends. And, anyway, people somehow explain it away. And I invite you to try to explain it away. Then he brings up lunar eclipses. How, the Earth gets between the moon and the sun, causing a shadow on the moon. And, you could see that the spherical model's fake, because if sometimes the sun, during an eclipse, it happens in the daytime where the sun is moving above the horizon, and sometimes the shadow comes from the wrong direction. But anyway, so he asked me, how do you explain it on a flat Earth model? And I can't say I know for sure. The Hindus have a theory about dark bodies called Rahu and Ketu, which block the moon. But the thing is, I don't know. And with this coronavirus thing, there's a lot I don't know. I don't know if the virus is a complete fraud. I don't know if there's something to it, or whether it's a flu or a common cold, or it might be something. But it doesn't change my position that this whole thing is just about the quarantine, getting people quarantined, and it's not about the virus. Anyway, so then he brings up the Earth's motion, Coriolis forces, which have never been shown to be true. It's like, all experiments, that I could mention lots of them. None of them showed movement of the Earth. And anyway, all I have to say about that is that Coriolis and Corona are flawed to their core. Boo, moan. Anyway, so then he asked me, why do I think the Earth is flat? And so I tell him number one reason would be curvature. Actually, it's not the number one reason. I'll get to that in a second. Number one reason is there's no evidence of curvature. No matter how high up you go, flat. So there's so much. You see too far with long-distance photography, all kinds of reasons. And sometimes you can even see the horizon behind what you're supposed to not be able to see. But the main reason I respect the flat Earth theory is that it's something that became debated fiercely by thousands of people, and nobody can debunk it, and nobody could defend the globe. And I give a lot of respect to an idea that has that much durability to hold up under constant attack and criticism. And compare that with making up things like you should wear masks that protects you, or you should stand 6 feet away, or none of these things had anything to do with experiment, discussion, debate. It's just stuff that's made up that, that's enforced on people. So, when you understand that, you're not intimidated by these men or women, whatever, who, act like they're experts, but anyway, what I see as a similarity between the flat Earth movement and the quarantine situation is that way back in 2015, when Flat Earth was becoming popular, people thought that it was going to spread throughout the world really fast. But the problem is, though, that there's only a few, not enough high percentage have the interest and the time to really get into it. But with this corona thing, it affects everyone, so it'll do what the flat Earth theory was people thought it would do, which was get people to start thinking and not be brainwashed by the media. And so, anyway, so the way I see it is this: is that when I was a kid in camp, we did this thing called Color War. In Color War, the whole camp was divided into two teams, let's say the red team and the blue team, and they would play each other in sports. And the way I see this situation is that it's kind of like Color War, but for the whole world, where it's divided into two teams. And I'll introduce the teams to you. First, the blue team, for the blue pill people. You have brainwashed people who just obey what their television says, and I would say their team captains are people like Bill Gates or George Soros, or probably people that they work for that you don't know the names of. And then you have the red team, the red pill team. You have the I wouldn't say there would be team captains, because it's more of a grassroots movement where there aren't, where many people can be leaders. But there are people who are thinking. And each side has their own advantages and disadvantages. Like the blue team, they have numerical superiority, they have financial advantage, they have organizational skills, while the red team is just, I would say, more fun to be with. They're more fun, and so that's a reason enough to be with them, besides that they're about finding the truth. But anyway, and they're more creative and intelligent, but that's besides the point. And they're probably in better shape, and a few other things. But anyway, so all I want to say is the flat Earth theory can help you overcome anxiety about the quarantine and have the idea of connecting with other red people on the red team to win this battle. So go red! Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and nice to see you.